Hey, Ross Givens here. Today I want to show you a stock, but not just any stock. It's a company being bought heavily by company insiders. Now, one of the things I've known for, one of the strategies I've used for nearly a decade is tracking insider buying. Simply looking for stocks that are being purchased by the CEO, the CFO, vice presidents, board members, other top executives, simply because they have such intimate, inside, non-public information about their companies. Information that gives them a huge edge and has allowed them to have these long track records of vastly outperforming the market. So they don't all work. It's not guaranteed, but sometimes they tip us off to big movements coming in that stock. And today we're going to look at one. Now, the company is Sturm Ruger, ticker symbol RGR, Ralph George Ralph. And as you can see, it's been a tough couple of years for Ruger. Now, Ruger is, of course, the arms manufacturer. They make a line of pistols, revolvers, rifles, and ammunition. But the stock has been a total dud. Now, this can be good if the company turns around. We need to see some kind of evidence and good evidence that the stock is, in fact, overly cheap. The company is expecting to do much higher sales, much higher revenue, some positive development, and we've just seen that in the form of insider buying. So these are the insider buys in question. I'll put them up here on the screen. And as you can see, they took place in just a 2-day window. So we had John Cosentino, Sandra Froman, Timothy Lowry, and Philip Widman. Now, 3 of these being members of the board, directors of the company, one being the VP of operations, and they came in for $264, $33, $73, and $134,000 apiece. Now, what you need to remember about these insider buys is this is their own money, okay? These are people who work at that company who likely get shares either granted to them through their comp package or get options, going out, taking their personal money and buying more at the market prices with no advantage. So generally, and again, not guaranteed, I'm not saying they're all suspicious, but the odds that they would all be buying their company stock with this much of their own money all at once before the company reports some terribly bad news is very, very unlikely. The odds that they are going to do this before some good news comes out, far more likely. So we've got around $500 million coming in from these insiders, again, just in this 2-day window. And so this is something I call a cluster buy, and it's good, but what's better is when that buying is rare, and that is the case here. So this is the volume of insider trading at Sturm Ruger, at RGR, over the last 3 years. So if there were insiders selling that month, it'd be a red bar, and it shows how many shares they sold. If there's buying, it is a green bar. Now, you notice there's some selling every 6 months or so here. That's generally nothing to be alarmed about, although in this case, the stock fell in half afterwards. But again, a lot of them get a lot of their compensation through stock, have big positions. They may just be diversifying, any number of reasons to sell. It's not a panic situation, but there's only one reason to buy. And we got a little bit of buying here in October, November of last year, but then look at what we've seen in May. So this cluster buy, these 4 insiders buying I showed you, in a 2-day period, they've bought more stock, more shares of RGR than all the insiders at this company combined in the last 3 years. And what we can do is we can go back to get further evidence and see what their track records look like. So, when we get these kind of insider buys, it's really not enough. And people ask me all the time, well, Ross, I heard the CEO's buying. And I go back and say, well, either they buy all the time, or look at the last time this guy bought. It was right at the tippy top before it came crashing, or it did nothing. So one of the important parts of tracking these insiders is identifying those that have shown they have good timing. Following the people who historically buy before the stock makes a big run up or sell before it goes down. And we can look at these really quickly. I don't need to go through all of them, but these are the insider trades of John Cosentino. So the guy putting in $264,000 worth of that stock. Now, he holds some sort of position at Flux Power as well. That's why it's showing up here. Some of these people will be on the board of more than one company. But the RGR has pretty much been all sells. The last time he bought any stock that he serves on a company was back here, Flux Power. And you can see he bought 25,000 shares on August 14th of 2020, another 25,000 4 days later. This has come after buying these 62,000 shares just 2 weeks before that, 3 weeks before that. So lots of buying in FLUX July and August of 2020. All right, so let's just ask ourselves, how'd that turn out? How did he do buying heavily in July and August of 2020 in FLUX? Well, I'd say he did pretty good. This is where he bought, July and August, right back in here. And that stock went up 340% over the next 4.5 months. So maybe it's a coincidence? Probably not. Okay. Next insider we're looking at, Sandra Froman. Now, she didn't come in quite as heavily, but we still want to know what her history is like. And we can look at all her past trades. Now, again, her trades in RGR go all the way back to 2017. So this is not somebody new at the company just throwing some money around. They've been there day in and day out for at least the last 8 years. Yet she has not bought any of this stock since August of 2019. Bought 3 times back then. And she bought 200 and 300 and 400 shares. Now she's in for 1,000. So again, what did that look like? Why was she buying so much in August of 2019 in RGR? Okay. There is August right in here. So she was buying right down in here before the stock doubled over the next year. So again, I'm not accusing these people of anything, but it is at the very least suspicious. And I just want to follow people that for one reason or another seem to have a history of well-timed trades. Next on that list is Timothy Lowney, the VP of Operations. Well, let's see what old Lowney's been up to. Here are his past trades. And you'll notice 2 things here. Main one being he's never bought before. Despite holding a position at Sturm Ruger since at least 2020, probably before, he had sold some shares here, sold some shares here, sold but never bought before. So we don't really have a buying history track record to look at. But we can look and see, well, were the sells opportunistic? You know, was he trying to get out when things were good? So you see he bought here December of 2022, July of 21, and July of 20. Okay, so keep those dates in mind. And July 17th, 2020 was right up in here. So I didn't crap, but, pretty good time to get out. July 16th, 21, he sold right up in here. So again, right up there near the highs before the stock just kind of got murdered. And then again, in December of 2022, which would have been right over December 1st, right up here. So, not a perfect time buy there or sell there, but still, they at least some are taking advantage of this big quick move up and trying to get out of the high. So, none of this in itself is all conclusive, right? Any one of these insiders could be buying for any number of reasons. But historically, and we've been doing this for the last 7.5 years, when we focus on the stocks being bought heavily by these insiders, when we wait to see what not just 1, not just 2, but 3, 4, 5, 8+ insiders are buying, it's even better when the buying is rare. They don't normally buy at this company. Why are they all getting in now? And it's even better when those people doing the buying have shown us a proven track record of well-timed buy and sells historically. So you put all that together, and what we have, I believe, is a buying opportunity in Sturm Ruger. Now let's go to a daily chart here of the stock. You can see what's happening. So it was doing pretty well April or so. They had a bad earnings report. Stock fell 16% in a day, and then they started buying. Now all those buys were on the 6th and 7th. So they all got in down around here. So far, they're off to a pretty good start. But this is a stock that was trading for $90 a share a couple years ago. Today, it's at $35. So if this is, in fact, a low, things are improving. They're going to go on to new heights. You got a lot of upside here. So, again, that's the look. Anything can happen. I wanted to share this with you. Sturm Ruger, heavy insider buying. Ticker symbol is RGR.